For accounting, master's accounting class at Southern Utah University. My name is Hunter Christensen. This time we're going to be going over a case from Chapter 3 revolving around Franklin Industries. Just to give a little background to bring everyone up to speed, the case revolves around Natalie Garson, who is a CPA for Franklin Industries. And as she was doing her work, she came across a string of suspicious purchases. And these purchases were between her department manager, Denny King, and an unknown company titled Vic Construction. The amount of these purchases totaled over $5 million, and so she reported these to the internal auditors. The internal auditors then determined that the purchases were made to Vic Construction and then were being transferred back to Denny King by his sibling Victoria King, who was in charge of Vic Construction. After reporting these purchases to the internal auditors, Natalie was then demoted from assistant manager to staff supervisor. So she filed a retaliation claim with HR. After waiting 6 months for a response, HR finally got back to her saying that no retaliation had taken place and that no embezzlement was occurring at all. So that's kind of a little case background, bringing everyone up to speed. As Natalie faces this tough situation ahead of her, she has some main arguments to consider as far as, if she should bring it to someone's attention or not. So as she decides to bring it to someone's attention, she may encounter some things like the purchases were approved, they were being done by the book, they were being reported, or that this item doesn't even concern her and it's above her level. So as she encounters these, Natalie should consider that if these purchases were being approved, who was approving them, because they may be involved somehow. The purchases were being reported on the books, but there was alternative motives and there were plans for embezzlement involved. And as a CPA, she has a duty to give public information that the firm may be performing unethical practices. There's a lot at stake for both those against Natalie and those on her side. Starting with those against Natalie, the company image of Franklin Industries is at stake, as well as the CEO may face legal repercussions, as well as the board if no action is taken and the SEC decides to get involved. Not to mention that Vic Construction would be exposed as a fake third-party company, so to speak. And on the flip side, Natalie could end up losing her job entirely. If everything works out and nothing happens, she could face the repercussions of being fired. Her friend could also end up being fired because she discussed the situation with him, so now he is involved. So there's a lot at stake for both sides going forward. Natalie has a few levers, so to speak, that can be used to help influence those to make a decision to act. First and foremost, just going straight to upper management to rectify the embezzlement. This should be all that's needed, but if not, she also has the option to report the activity again to internal auditors and even out to external auditors. She also could, last resort, report the activity to the SEC so that real convictions could be made. Keeping all that in mind, Natalie's most powerful response going forward should be directed straight to top management or the highest official in charge. Explaining the whole situation to them, that the activity was discovered by internal auditors after being reported, and that the money did come full circle back to Denny King. This should be enough to spark that multiple people have been involved, showing that it was truly embezzlement. This argument should have been brought to the attention of lawyers and the board the moment the transaction was discovered. But since it wasn't done the moment the transaction was discovered, then it is kind of an as soon as possible going forward type of situation. And lastly, the case kind of asks the questions of, according to the Dodd-Frank Act and whistleblowers, could Natalie file a whistleblower claim instead and go straight with the SEC? And the answer is yes. The dollar amount of everything involved does exceed the $1 million mark, as it is at $5 million, and financial securities laws were violated as well. The information was also not previously known to the SEC, so Natalie could be entitled to be paid back as part of that whistleblower program. Sometimes those paybacks can range from 10 to 30%, depending on the situation. So that is the case for Natalie and Franklin Industries. If you have any questions, please reach out. Thanks.